Good morning and welcome to the morning show. I'm Marshall Shore.
And I'm Melissa Farley. We're here at the
fabulous Arizona Center on Hump Day.
Your favorite day of all days.
Indeed.
Also, I see you survived April Fool's Day. Congratulations.
I did with no major...
Nobody pulled any big pranks on you?
No.
No?
What about you? Did anyone...
No. I didn't leave the house, so that helps. No.
I was saying, yeah, but you have your husband.
I
so
do.
I was going to say, he may have been pulling some pranks, not even realizing it.
Does farting count as a prank? Because that's about the only thing that happened. Yeah. But we're here. We're halfway through the week. We're so excited to be with you.
Exactly. And so, we have Word of the Day.
My favorite. My acting just comes in so handy with this part of this show.
Wow, that was almost Academy Award winning.
Thank you.
They like me. They really, really like me. All right, so for Wednesday, April 2nd, Vox Populi, Voice of the People.
Vox Populi.
Exactly, or we're just seeing how do you actually pronounce it? It's like Vox Populi.
Yeah.
So, but much deeper because he had a very throaty voice.
It was a good voice.
Vox Populi. All right, so what is this sentence? It's too early to determine with certainty just how much influence the Vox Populi will really have on the new governor's policy decisions. Well, there you go.
Okay, that sentence actually made sense.
Finally, there's one that actually...
What is that, like 3 out of 15 that we've had so far that makes sense?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like actually if you didn't know what that word meant, you could kind of figure out what it meant.
All right, I challenge you to use it during the show today.
I see that challenge, and I challenge you back. I challenge you to a duel.
I need my glove.
I know. I was like, oh, should have brought my gloves. Jeez.
All right, well, we have a great show lined up for you today. We are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this to introduce you to our guest.
Indeed.
I think you'll probably know him. Most people do, but if not, you'll get a lovely surprise.
Good morning and welcome back to the morning show. I'm Marshall Shore.
And I'm Melissa Farley. We're here at the
fabulous Arizona Center.
We sure are on your favorite hump day.
Indeed, and we have a great guest.
We do have a great guest. We've got Mike Watkiss here joining us on the morning show. Hi, Mike.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, we're so excited.
Thank you for being here, yeah.
Our producer has been talking about this for weeks. She's been really excited to have you on.
She's an old friend, so I appreciate it.
So, Mike, you've had so many roles and different things. I don't even know, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where do we start here?
For folks who've lived in the Valley, they may recognize me from covering cops and robbers on television for about 20 years. But I have been a TV reporter. I'm officially retired now, but I was a TV reporter for about 45 years.
Yeah.
Covered murder and mayhem and serial killers and cult leaders and retired some years ago wanting nothing to do with that. And as soon as I got retired, stories started coming, sort of pulling me back in. And for the last couple of years, we've still, as some folks are maybe aware, that we focused on the fundamentalist and the child abuse, in communities like Colorado City and Hilldale. And much of my career was focused on the FLDS primarily, and a guy named Warren Jeffs, who, thank goodness, we helped put in prison many years ago. But the legacy of that still goes on, and my daughter and I, she's a journalist now, and so we're covering some of that and still dabbling in a few movies. So, doing whatever. I feel like I'm sort of a performing circus monkey, and I'm just always looking for a venue to perform on.
So I'm curious, when you found out your daughter wanted to get into journalism, was it like oh wow, I'm so proud, or was it, oh shit?
A little bit of both, because the world that she's now in, she's working as a TV reporter in Texas now, and she'll go out and with her own camera by herself. I always had the luxury of working with a cameraman, and from my point of view, especially the kind of work I did, I liked having a big scary guy with a camera right behind me when I walked in a door. They now have to go out and do it on their own, but in many ways, it's it's television 101 that she's doing. It's harder what she's doing than I did, because we had a much larger team to work with. But that's the reality of television these days, and everything has changed. I mean, there were 3 TV channels: ABC, NBC, and CBS when I started. Nobody even knows what those are anymore, because now there's so many platforms to disseminate news on. So it's a brave new world, and survival of the fittest, and she's trying to figure it out. As I think, newspapers are dying, television's traditional stations are not doing that well. The world is changing. Yeah. You either adapt or you die. So.
And speaking of adapting, you are on YouTube now as one of the platforms that you use.
Yeah, we've got our own little. I wrote a book called Story Hustler, which was what a woman referred to me as a story hustler in a book about Michael Jackson that she wrote many years ago. I don't think the author meant it as a compliment, but I thought that perfectly crystallizes what I do. I am a story hustler, right. And so I wrote a book that chronicles some of the crazier stories in my career. And my daughter and I now have a YouTube channel called Story Hustler, and we go back and look at many of the old story, serial killers that I interviewed, bizarre stories. But for the last 3 years, since we sort of got pulled back into the FLDS fundamentalist child abuse trafficking story, we've really focused on that. That's because it's still ongoing, and unless somebody, one of the networks comes in and does a special, nobody knows about it. And we've been covering it really in a day-to-day way for 30 years, and I think if you don't know the history of that story, you can't really tell it very effectively, and I don't think you can have much of an impact in stopping the abuse. And so that's a little niche that we're in.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I heard about Mike before I even met Mike was, so my husband was a photojournalist for 20 plus years. He had,
good guy.
Yeah, run into Mike in several different situations, and he told me one time, he said, Mike Watkiss is like braver than most reporters. He will ask the hard questions. He will go into the uncomfortable places and get to the source of things in ways that most people won't.
Will you tell him thank you for saying that? And really, it's not so brave. It's more often just being dumb enough to not know that there is a danger or downside to it. But that's very kind of him to say. I hope that's true.
Yeah, no, he literally said, he's like, I would watch, where kind of other reporters were like, no, I'm not going there, and there goes Mike Watkiss, going right through, and I think that was such a cool way to kind of think of you, So when I met you on a film set, I was like, this guy?
Yes. We have done a couple of films together. Yeah. I know they want us to plug Some Nudity Required.
Oh, yeah.
And a new film that the same producers have coming out called 4 Stories Before You Die. Okay. Local productions. Some Nudity was a pretty funny movie.
It was.
You were terrific.
So were you.
You were very funny.
That turned out well. Yeah, I love that film. Yeah. So I'm just curious now. So you've got your YouTube show, you wrote a book, you're doing film. Tell me what it feels like to be kind of retired. I mean, you're not really retired.
I was retired, but not really.
Yeah, well, no, but it's so nice. Yeah, I don't have the day-to-day pressure of the day-to-day news is a grind. Yeah, it really is, and your husband knows this, and you guys are close enough to it. But after about 40 years of doing it, it was time to step back, but I found that now I have time to focus on issues more in-depthly, more stuff that I want to do, and it's really rewarding.
Yeah,
it really is. And the films that I'm doing now are people come to me, old friends. I don't really have to go hustle them anymore, and they'll throw me a juicy little role as a bad guy in a film every now and again, and that's enough.
Yeah.
Working on these, we're really invested. My daughter and I spent the last 2 years really covering a case that has gotten some attention here. This wannabe prophet named Samuel Bateman, who was in the FLDS community, broke off, and suddenly amassed about 25 women and girls that he was just abusing horribly. And he just was convicted, and some of his male and adult female followers, which they're prosecuting the followers, which is really good. You get the prophet, you need to get the enablers. But this has been unfolding in Phoenix's federal court for the last several months. That's really been our focus, and I feel like I'm back in the biz, because we're covering this story very, as as hard as we can.
But it also must be interesting because you get to now you get to choose, as opposed to somebody saying, "Hey, we really want you to do this." You get a more, it's like those passion projects.
It's way better. And, sometimes it's fun to just be the happenstance of a newsroom. Oh, you're covering this today. You're covering, the spontaneity of it was amusing, but you're right. And the older I've gotten, it's just like I only have a certain amount of time and energy, and so focusing on these things where I think we can still make a difference. I was talking to Ann just before we came on, but after being retired for some years, I got a phone call in the middle of the night. This couple up in Colorado City calls me and says their daughter is gone missing because she's been pulled back into the church, and she's, and that's what it really was, the Al Pacino moment. I wanted out, and they pulled me back in.
Yeah.
And we were able to go help find this girl, but it found that this represents a larger pattern that's now going on, where they're now taking kids, many of whom have gotten out with a parent or a family member. FLDS members are now pulling them back in for the express purpose of starting these young marriages again, and that to me says child abuse.
Yeah.
And that's to me says trafficking, and that's what it is. And so it's given us something that we're passionate about and we're focused on. Yeah.
How did the FLDS thing become kind of your thing, like your focus
Why
point?
did I spend so much time doing
Well,
this? I grew up in Utah. I was raised LDS. I'm not a Mormon. My wife and I both have polygamous. I have polygamist ancestors. I feel like it's part of my DNA.
Okay.
I mean, it really is part of who I am.
Okay.
And the religion never spoke to me, but the history fascinated me. The growth of the Mormon Church, and then the fundamentalist breaking off from the mainstream Mormon Church when the Mormon Church decided they wanted statehood more than they wanted polygamy, and it left thousands of people sort of out in the wilderness still practicing polygamy. And that has been sort of a topic of interest, historical interest to me, my entire life, really.
Yeah, I was just, because there's such a big boom of true crime podcasts and all the serial killer, obsessives, and this seems to be kind of where you stay anchored.
Yes.
And I'm curious, can you talk a little bit about why is this such a hard thing to actually handle, in the courts with law? Why is this, what are the obstacles that kind of prevent justice from happening?
That is such a great question, and we could probably spend the rest of the day talking about the historical, the influences of the Mormon Church in the politics of both Utah and Arizona, the sort of the conflicting feelings of that very powerful political entity in both of the states has had a big influence on it. Getting into these communities, they don't invite outsiders. Occasionally you get one of these guys who will, on the guy, Sister Wives, you'll get one guy who will invite the publicity, and but for every one of those guys, there's lots of them who don't want any publicity, and they're involved. They're taking younger underage brides, and so it's one of those kind of things that there's a million reasons why it's just hard, Many years ago, in 1953, the governor of Arizona, a man named Howard Pyle, sent a bunch of officers up to raid Colorado City. It was a disaster, just like the Texas raid some years ago, because the optics were bad, taking children away from their mothers. The optics were bad. The point was very valid, but the bottom line is, after the governor back in 1953 sent the cops up there, and the Arizona Republic and Life magazine, where they're taking pictures of children being taken away from their mothers. It blew up in the governor's face. He lost the election, and it really, for the last 70 years, it has been the third rail. You do not touch that in politics, because it'll, and most of the folks in Mojave County, Washington County, Utah, they figured, leave them alone.
Yeah.
But when you leave them alone, they start taking younger and younger brides. They start throwing out the teenage men as teenagers. And having grown up in that, I knew the story was there. I'd been covering it long before I came here, but then I got a job in Phoenix, when I was about, already 25 years into my career. And the guys who hired me said, go wild. go on this thing, and I'd wanted to. So it gave me the opportunity to really start doing the deep dive and saying, we do the superficial stories talking about the women's hair and their clothing. Behind that, some terrible abuse is going on. And and it became sort of, I think, my role to expose that and tell the truth about these pastoral images. There's a very dark side.
When you bring up a good point also, as your daughter's trying to navigate kind of the new world of news, where they were like, go do this. You don't really get that carte blanche.
You don't, but you have I guess the way it sort of works out in these days, anybody can be a reporter now. True. You don't need a TV station to go, and we found that it's in many ways more effective for us not to work with a TV station because you have certain confines and expectations. We can go out and shoot our own stuff and put it on our own channel, which has liberated a lot of storytellers.
Right.
But now there's too much.
I know.
And how do you find that?
Yeah.
How do you find the quality stuff?
Well, how do you find the quality? And that's always the thing. And vetting. It's like trying to figure out who are those folks that can trust what they're saying, that they've researched to know what they're doing.
And a lot of times the most popular ones aren't necessarily the best or the most accurate.
But you bring up an interesting point, another little facet to sort of a side hustle that I've found I've got. Having been around as long as I have and covered serial killers and OJ and the Menendez brothers, all these things coming. I find that I'm now getting a fairly regular sort of business side gig going. People coming to me wanting to do interviews about history because everybody wants to go back and do these deep dive in these old cases. Right. So we've got a couple of things that are coming out. A young woman who was a teenager, Tempe kid, who was murdered, Brianna Wells, 11 years ago. A very good documentary is going to come out, Forgotten Girl, What Happened to Brianna Wells, local story. They've just put out the trailer, and I was happy to be. Anytime that a producer comes to me and wants to talk about a story involving a child victim that has not been resolved, I'm always ready to help. So we've talked, I know they've recently done on Baby Gabriel, which everybody knows if you're here, Mikkel Biggs, the little girl who vanished, many years ago, more than 20 years ago in Mesa. Her sister is a wonderful person, Kimber. They're putting together a very good documentary that's going to come out. So I actually have a hand as some, sound bites in a couple of documentaries where people have come to me and said, tell us what it was like covering that story. And anytime I can get involved in a project like that, I will be happy to. Because these are unresolved. There's a killer out there that killed this teenage girl. There's a killer who snatched this little girl, Mikkel, off the streets. We don't know what happened. And so anytime with I think the one really good upside to this proliferation of crime docs is they put fresh eyes on the case.
That's true.
And that's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Well, you have been absolutely prolific, and it's been a pleasure to sit here and talk with you about.
Grateful you invite me.
Please share a little bit about where people can find your work and connect with you.
Yeah, well, my book is, I brought some here, and then I forgot them on set, but my book is available on Amazon. It's called Story Hustler, Murder, Mayhem, PTSD. And then my daughter and I have a YouTube channel called Story Hustler. And again, if you want a deep dive into really what has gone on in the FLDS community, you're too kind. And thank you. I brought books for everybody. So these are the kind of things you're going to want to read late at night, preferably during a thunderstorm.
When you're home alone, after the lights
just
have officially...
a feel-good book.
Book. But just crazy things, interviewing the serial killer Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, in a little room. I'm messing my mic up. But it's chapters like that. The morning that Nicole and Ron's bodies were found, the beginning of the OJ story. Just they got a new OJ thing on Netflix, and I heard my voice. It's fun to go back and look at that, whether they've interviewed me or not. Usually there's a clip or a sound up of me screaming a question at somebody, so it's sort of amusing.
Nice.
Well, it's been so great to have you here. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Give your husband my best wishes. I don't see
will.
him now that he's not out in the street. We're not. Neither of us are out doing that anymore. But
I know. No. Well, the PIO position is keeping him on his
It's a
toes.
different street.
gig.
It's
Yeah.
just a different street.
Yeah.
Although
That's
he's
right.
running into burning houses, which I don't love, but you know, it's fine. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this with the rest of our show.
Good morning and welcome back to the morning show. I'm Marshall Shore.
I'm Melissa Farley. We're here at
The fabulous Arizona Center.
That was like very enthusiastic that time. Wow. You don't even have your coffee. Like, that's just pure Marshall.
I had my coffee before.
Oh.
So, yeah.
All right.
So, indeed.
Well, that was fun. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, talking to Mike was great because, the news world is changing, but
Yep.
some of those stories are still so pervasive in that history where you keep doing deep dives going back.
And he remembered me. I didn't think that would happen. So look at that.
See, there you go.
Someone remembered me. Aw.
Indeed.
I know. No, it's always good to sit down. He's so interesting. He's done so many weird, like, cool things. Yeah.
Exactly. Almost anything you bring up, he's like, oh yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
Actually, that was me who did that.
Actually, that's one of the really annoying things about dating a journalist. And like, well, I'm married to him now, but it's like, that happens all the time. You'll be talking about something and he'll be like, oh, I did a story on that. Or, I shot that, and it's like, of course you have. Of course you have. You've been everywhere and done everything. I get it. No, but it's
and I'm
cool.
having a cookie.
And I'm having a cookie. I know. That's how I was at book club the other night, and we're sitting there, and we found out the author was writing 2 books simultaneously, and they both are like bestsellers. And so the girl I'm with, she stops eating her pretzel, and she's just like, "Well, I'm just a failure at life." I was like, "But you're having a pretzel."
Right, exactly. A damn good pretzel.
I know. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, you're not a failure. You are the hip historian.
Indeed.
with
Let's
some
talk some
to share.
history. So for this bit of history, nowadays cars have 4-wheel drive, they climb up things, and that's not an uncommon thing.
Yeah.
On this date back in 1919, at 10 a.m. in the morning, the first car ever to climb Sentinel Peak in Tucson. And it was such a thing that after it climbed the hill, they left the lights on to show and left it parked there for several days so people could see that it was there. And that it blew a tire on its way up. I mean, it was a pretty big deal because cars were still kind of a new thing.
Look at how freaking rocky that
I
is,
know,
too.
exactly. And I'm sure it was not a comfortable ride at all. But I love how it's a full car as well. It's not just one person going up the hill, but
No, it's like, yeah. Look at how thin the tires look, too.
yeah. So
That's
it was
funny.
not a comfortable ride at all, getting up there. I mean, and now I'm sure modern cars would do that with no problem.
It'd be like
and-
the Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland. Like, we were
Right,
just
right,
like...
exactly. So there you go. So cars, news,
That's fun.
it's all changing.
Some of my favorite things about when you do this segment is seeing the photos. Like, I always think
Well,
those
I
are
had to
really cool.
dig for that because a lot of it's like I just found articles talking about it. It's like, somebody's got to have a photo of it
Yeah.
somewhere.
And
So,
they did.
Indeed. So it was a photojournalist even back in
Back in the day.
back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, well, we have not celebrated sufficiently yet today, Marshall.
Wow, that was a smooth transition.
I thought so, but Theo still didn't roll it, so I don't know.
So today, it is the 3rd most popular pet, right behind dogs and cats
Bunnies.
and ferrets.
Ferret is the 3rd most popular.
Yeah. Who knew? And
No, it's not.
It is. And a group of ferrets is called a business. So you have a business of ferrets.
Well, that's just silly.
And so it is Ferret Day. And I mean, look at that face.
They have really cute face, but they're so stinky. I think they're
See, I
smelly.
don't know one who has a ferret, so I don't know if they're stinky.
They're stinky.
Maybe they should bathe their ferret more often.
No, they're just stinky. They're like musky, stinky. That's why I never wanted a ferret.
Oh. Maybe it's the people blaming the farts on the dog. Maybe it's not the ferret that has the bad
No,
BO.
it's the ferret. That's a very distinct smell. How weird. I would have thought like a rabbit or
I know. I was quite
hamster,
surprised that
bird,
it's like
even.
the third most popular pet.
Huh. Weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not celebrating Ferret Day. Sorry. Skipping that one. Moving on. What else do we have?
It is National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day.
Peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter
So,
jelly.
and what was interesting about this was just kind of digging a little bit into I know, peanut butter jelly.
Sorry. Okay.
The history, it's like, it was like, it wasn't until really sliced bread came out, then they were trying to find a way to use peanuts, so they discovered peanut butter. But it really came about during World War II when peanut butter, jelly, and bread were on the war rations. So basically soldiers were making all these peanut butter and jellies, and when they came back after World War II, boom, then suddenly everybody was eating peanut butter and jelly.
So weird fact about me, I never liked peanut butter and jelly as a kid, but as an adult, I enjoy a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
See, I like a peanut butter sandwich.
I like peanut butter banana. That's one of my
right,
favorites.
exactly.
but-
A lot of times jelly is too sweet.
Yeah.
And so I'm not, although someone just made me some really good orange marmalade with a little bit of cinnamon.
Yum. Yeah.
And so that was really good on peanut butter. And so.
It's never like my go-to sandwich, but I'm just saying, like, I just did not like it as a kid. And now if somebody puts a peanut butter jelly sandwich in front of me, I'm like, okay.
So are you a crust on or off?
I don't have to have it cut off, but I usually don't eat the crust.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I'm not like a, no crust, please, but then I'll just like...
You like eat around it.
Yeah.
And then do you do the diagonal cut?
I do diagonal. Yeah, I'm a diagonaler.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's usually just like fold it. It's just a...
That's what Pat does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like pizza. You just fold it and...
No, I like that sound. I like the diagonal cut on my Sammys.
All right, and then it is also National Do-It-Yourself Day, or National DIY.
So like every day of my life, you just do things on your own?
Right, I mean, whether it's...
Do they mean like build something?
Yeah, like build
Oh, God, no.
things, decorate, fixing. I mean, in a couple weeks, I'm taking how to use woodworking tools class.
You're taking a class?
Yeah.
What made you want to do that?
Well, I'm part of this whole artist researcher experience, so we have to create something. So out of that, I have to figure out how to make a door stand on its own so I can open and shut it without it falling on people.
Well, that seems important.
So
Yeah,
it's like,
okay.
I don't have any tools, so I'm going to be using the Create makerspace over at the Science Center.
Got it.
And so you have to go through an introductory where it's like, you learn about the safety, and then I have to make something.
I feel like we should film that for the show.
Oh yeah, that would be
I know.
a great
Oh, I know.
production.
I'm gonna
It's
talk to Ann about that.
As I have the other day in office pool. Okay, which finger goes?
Pinky. You're going to lose a pinky. I just know it.
So yeah, but I mean, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's cool. I'm glad you're doing that.
And then I'm like looking around, going, I could create that. I could create that. So who knows?
Oh, good. So if we need something built for the studio.
I mean, it's just down the street. So
That's
we
true.
could laser cut it. We could,
Fantastic.
3D print it.
I like it.
So, indeed. And I love, actually was just talking about this yesterday because I did a thing over at the Western Museum in Scottsdale. And a woman was talking about how back in the day around Scottsdale, her husband was known to ride his horse to the Pink Pony. And I was like, well, just by chance, tomorrow is Ride Your Horse to a Bar Day.
Oh, to a bar.
Yeah, not just Ride Your Horse Day, but to a bar.
Okay.
And so,
Like saloon style. Tying your horse up.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember like when Chavez Library opened up out in Laveen, they had hitching posts so you could ride your, not to a bar, but to the library and...
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. We watch a show called Dark Winds, which is really great. It's about 2 cops that are on Navajo land, and they ride horses a lot everywhere because there's like trails and things that aren't accessible by cars.
Right.
And it just I don't know why it's so intriguing to me, because it's like you never see that anymore. Like people for business taking a horse somewhere, you know.
Well, I have a feeling it's like you might still see it like out in Laveen where there's horse ranch, like maybe like maybe depending on like where you're at in Chandler, because there are horse ranches out there.
There are, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was this great presentation on this guy who was documenting contemporary black cowboys. And so Philadelphia, there were like the streets, and there's this guy riding his horse down in Philadelphia, down the street.
Did you come to that storytelling event that I did a while ago at Phoenix Art Museum about fashion? And there was that, he was from New York and he was black, but for some reason he just loved Western wear, like the big cowboy hats, the cowboy boots.
I did not.
And he just chose to wear that. Like that was just what he loved. And he used to get like made fun of in school a lot and all this stuff because people were like, what do you do? And then now he lives in Arizona. So like
it was perfect.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because it was like they were talking about since Beyonce albums come out.
Yeah.
Shabuzi. So that it's kind of like it's like black cowboys are kind of now on the forefront.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
Well.
So okay. So
I
we
guess
could
all I'm doing is eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich today. That's the only thing I'm going to be able to celebrate.
You could ride your horse to a bar.
I don't have a horse. I don't have my miniature horse yet. I need my mini horse.
Pat. Come in, Pat. Put him on speed dial. Hello. Miniature horse.
You're failing, husband.
Aging 1.
The miniature horse thing. Yeah.
All right. So you can't celebrate riding your miniature horse to a bar, but what are some other things you could do? Yes, it was like making a shut up.
Okay, so if you are a Dancing with the Stars fan, which I know you are, Marshall, I think you watch that every week. Die hard. No.
Is it on?
Well, it's live at the Arizona Financial Theater at 7:30 p.m. So it's, America's favorite dance show coming to an all-new show. Actually, it's really impressive to watch. I'm not like a regular viewer, but every time I've been at somebody's house and it's been on, I'm like, wow, that's really, because people genuinely just don't know how to dance, and then all of a sudden they're doing these incredible combos. But anyway, doors open at 6:30, shows at 7:30. It's around $75 depending on your seating choice, and that is at Arizona Financial Theater, which we love. We love Arizona Financial Theater.
Indeed.
We've also got, this is a big one, Arizona Bike Week is happening at Westworld of Scottsdale starting at 10 a.m. today, and this goes through April 6th. So this is the 28th annual Arizona Bike Week. It is the ultimate showcase for bike vendors in the power sports industry. So basically there's going to be stunt performances, bike shows, charity rides, factory demos, live music, a swap meet, all sorts of stuff. They've got on-site RV and campsite rental options available. There's going to be concerts. It's all going down at Westworld. So prices range depending on what day you go. Today is actually the cheapest day to go. It's $27. And then if you want to go on Saturday, that's the most expensive day to go. It's $69.
Okay.
But Sunday, I don't know why, it's free admission.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. So I lied. Today is not the cheapest day. Sunday would be the
Sunday because it's free.
I don't know. Maybe there's not as much stuff there.
I say there's probably maybe not the concerts are going on, so all that stuff is.
Yeah. So anyway, but you can look up basically Arizona Bike Week, Westworld, and you'll get all the details there. It's pretty much from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Those are kind of the general hours every day.
Okay.
We've also got a cookie decorating class going on at Queen Creek Parks and Rec at 6 p.m. Look at how cute those, there's no way my cookies would look like that. Absolutely no way. They say no experience is needed either, by the way. But anyway, you can just come and make some delicious cookies. You'll learn the basics of decorating using royal icing. And then basically they say that they'll walk you through the actual step-by-step process to make these cookies that are actually pictured here. I would love to see, if you do this class, please send us pictures of your cookies so we can see if you nailed it or not.
Did you see the bunny butt cookie?
Bunny butt cookie?
Yeah, there was a little bunny's
butt. Put it back,
butt.
Theo. I want to see the butt.
See?
Oh,
Did you see the
butt,
tail?
the
with
little
just
tail,
because I was like,
cottontail.
oh, look at the little feet, and I
That
was like,
is
oh, wait a
cute.
minute, there's a tail. I was like,
That's cute. We don't have a price for this, but it is 6 to 8 p.m. That'd be a lot of cookies, 6 to 10 p.m., 6 to 8 p.m.
well, because then you crash and then you wake back up and you make some more. So
Yeah, they give you a little nap time in between. Okay, and we've got trivia, Austin Powers Trivia Night at the Sugar Bar Craft in Chandler. Yeah, baby. You can join in for Austin Powers Trivia.
And what if the description is just strung together all kinds of Austin Power quotes?
I know. Do you have a suit like he has?
You know, velvet suits are really hot.
That's
so
true, they
no.
are. I love velvet, though. I look really good in velvet. I'm just saying. Okay.
Yeah, but it's so hot. And especially, I mean, in Arizona, it's
I
like
know.
you could wear it for a week.
I know. If you win, if you're like a winning team, there are going to be prizes. So there is motivation here. You do not have to wear a velvet suit to attend. You just have to be an Austin Powers fan. It's 7 p.m. There is no cover, but it is a 21 plus event.
And you will want to hydrate if you're wearing a velvet suit because you'll be baking.
Marshall feels really strongly about this. Yeah. Okay, and last but not least, we've got coffee and opera at the ASU Care in Scottsdale at 10:30 a.m. So this is basically the story of Egypt coming to life through a projection-based concert of Verdi's Aida. And this is the first Arizona performance of this in over a decade. So this is the story of forbidden love amongst political intrigue and war. And it really is a beautiful story. And coffee will be provided by Renegade Coffee Company. This is the cool part. You can see a beautiful opera and have some coffee for $5.
Dang, that's
I
a
know.
good deal.
It's early, so it's an early event. So doors open actually at 9:30 a.m. and then the show starts at 10:30. So, yeah, it's like an early morning brunch opera.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So there you go. There's your hump day. And speaking of hump day,
well, actually, that's a perfect lead into our first birthday, but roll that.
It's your birthday. Jump up, go have a great day. Everyone has come to see you. Make a wish and hope it comes true.
So in the 18th century, there was a gentleman. He was adventurous, a great traveler, was well admired. Giacomo Casanova.
I get the hump day thing now. Okay, got it.
Indeed.
That was Casanova?
Yeah. So he was removed for his love affairs, and in pop culture, his name is now synonymous with womanizer.
That is not what I thought he would look like.
So, you know, the ideals of beauty are always changing.
Well, that's for certain.
Well, you know, he had 2 eyes, a nose, and his teeth.
It's true.
So, again, it's all about the timing.
We don't know if those were his teeth, though. Those could have
They could have been
like
somebody else's.
wooden teeth.
Or it could have been somebody else's teeth, because they were doing that as well.
Oh, I know.
So, all right. So, you know, it's so appropriate because we had the story Hustler on. And so Hans Christian Andersen's birthday is today. So doing all those, The Little Mermaid, Ugly Duckling, Emperor's New Clothes, The Snow Queen, Princess and the Pea, which has been on Broadway many times.
Yeah.
So thank you to basically getting down all those down. And then I guess also maybe another good one for Hump Day is Marvin Gaye. I mean, you know.
We're on a theme here.
I know. I was like, oh, you know, how sweet it is to be loved by you. Such things as, I heard it through the grapevine. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on? So, and I didn't realize What's Going On was recorded after the Berry Gordy, when he was basically the police brutality. After he had witnessed that's where that song came from. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then our last, being also music, is Emmylou Harris.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, we need to update you on some good.
She looks country. Is she country?
She is.
See, I don't do country.
But she's like not the new country. She's the old country.
I don't do
I
any
mean, so
country.
I mean, like the trio. I mean, was her and Dolly Parton. I mean, it's like, so she's been recording with like Graham Parsons, Bob Dylan. Just very emotive voice and just very classic country western.
Well, maybe I'll try giving it a listen today
So,
in honor of her birthday.
see, there you go.
There I go. And there you go. We would love to hear from you. If you have a celebration, a birthday, anything that you've got going on that you would like to give a shout out about, please reach out to us. You can contact us on Instagram at On The Morning Show, or send us an email at hello@onthemorningshow.com. Nothing is too small. You know, if you just grew your first roses in your garden and you want to share a picture, we'd love to celebrate that with you.
You know, we also carrier pigeon.
Yeah. I mean, you know, whatever.
So just send it whatever way you can. Let us know that you have done something that's really cool right here in Arizona, and we will be happy to share it.
Also, we are actively looking now for sponsors and advertisers for the morning show, because we are here to stay, my friend. So if
Indeed, and we're here to celebrate.
If you'd like to partner with us, please hit us up the same way on Instagram or at hello@onthemorningshow.com. And we've had such a fun Wednesday with you.
Yeah. And we'll be back tomorrow with even more fun shenanigans.
Were you going to say my husband's last name instead of shenanigans?
No, I was going to say shenanigans, but I got hung up. And I was like, well, do I say that word or do I say something else?
Shenanigans.
So there you go. So you want to be checking us out tomorrow as well. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you tomorrow.